What do you see as a difficulty, and how do you choose which kind of difficulties to have? I know it sounds like a weird and potentially insensitive question, but that is the topic that I will explore in my episode today. My name is Justina, welcome to Investigative Selfism, and let's begin. I know that there is a risk of appearing arrogant or ignorant, neither is great, when someone says, "Oh, how are you choosing your difficulties?" Because, hey, there are different kinds of difficulties in life, right? And there are some difficulties, some hardships that no one would say that you have chosen that. That could be some kind of an illness or something horrible that can happen to your loved one, right? I know that things happen, and I'm putting these challenges into a slightly different category. And today I want to talk about the ones that you will hopefully see by the end of this episode, that these are the difficulties that we choose. And why am I recording this? Well, first of all, it's the end of the year as I'm recording, and I have already several episodes that are more reflective, but in a way that I'm giving you some tools, some questions that you can use and do your own reflections. Or if anything, these are some reminders that you can have for any day. So empowering questions that if you answer should provide some value in your life. And this is one of them, how we see what a difficulty is and how we're choosing them. And what inspired this episode, let me tell you, is the fact that I went back to my high school recently, which is something that I do almost every time when I'm home, because usually I don't really live in the country where I'm from. So if I'm home, even if it's been, 15 years since graduation, I'm always so excited to go back to my high school and talk to the students there. And in my most recent conversations, some of the kids were asking me about difficulties. And the very specific context was that we have two programs in my school. One's the national program and one is an international one. And I'd say we're very, very lucky to have it because it's a pretty fancy one, but it's a public school. So it's like mind-blowing. And I was very lucky to have been in the very first generation of that program. And so in many of those classes that I saw, the kids were saying, "Hey, but wasn't it really difficult?" And this is exactly what we're hearing about the specific program from the other kids. And that led me to reflect on, various things in life, and on an entire season, which was the second season of this podcast, that I focused on the topic of discomfort. And what I told the kids is something that I think is so good to be reminding ourselves, like, all the time. This is not something, this is something cute that I will tell the students because they had never thought about it. No, I need to hear this every day. And that thing is, there's always going to be something that we would call a difficulty or a challenge in life. But the question is, among others that we could be asking about difficulties, are we choosing a difficulty that is known? Or can we train ourselves to choose the difficulty that is unknown? And this is something I told the kids, said, "Hey, whichever program I'm going to choose, it's going to be difficult. These are your last 2 years in school. You have to study a lot. It's not going to be easy either way. But are you comfortable enough to choose that kind of discomfort, right? To choose the unknown difficulty?" And I think in our adult lives, that can come in so many shapes, right? Am I choosing the difficulty of staying in a job that I find completely meaningless? That's a difficulty. It's hard. It will have an effect on you in the short term and the long term. I can see it as a difficulty. Maybe I choose not to see it as a difficulty. I normalize it. And there's another difficulty that has an element of unknown, an element of uncertainty, which is to look for something new, to look for something hopefully better. That's a different kind of difficulty. I know in some disciplines this could be called as a safe problem versus a quality problem. Some problems are safe to have. We feel very familiar with those problems, or problems as we see them, right? And we'd rather be stuck in that situation with those difficulties instead of taking the risk and stepping into something different. Saying that I want to be asking better questions. If I'm having a problem, if I'm having a challenge, I want it to be a quality one. So this is what I'm inviting you to do today, at the end of the year or at any other time really, is to take that inventory of your life to see what problems, what issues you have or you think you have, and to ask yourself, is there maybe a better problem I could be having? Is there a more empowering question I could be asking myself to see how I can handle a certain situation? I think it takes a lot of, honesty. First of all, we have to be honest with ourselves, and it takes a lot of courage to say, you know what, I've had enough of this problem, I want a new one. And that could be realizing that a problem of, for example, not having enough of discipline, as you might define it for yourself, that's a low quality problem. And what's behind that problem, for example, is a problem or a question of, where do I want to put my efforts? What's meaningful to me? What is that where I want to put my time and effort and that discipline that I can have? Where do I want to put that? Isn't that a better problem to have? Or behind the problem that I don't think I can believe in myself, I'm not sure if I can do a certain thing. And wouldn't a better problem be, okay, I know that I can do this thing, but what kind of support would I need to really get things done? How can I better empower myself on this journey, since I've admitted that this journey is difficult? Like, isn't that a much better problem to have? So if we drop the low problems, if we drop the low level difficulties, there are still challenges, right? But they can be much more meaningful. And to have this framework is what I invite you to do, to have it and to use it at the end of this year, the beginning of next one, or at any time when it's needed. So thank you so much for being here. I wish all of us to have better problems, and I'll see you soon.